everybody. Welcome to a Wednesday edition of Box Seats. I'm your host, Frank Holder, and today is Wednesday. This is the show where Box Seats is a show of comedy and sports where they collide. And let's get this show started. Let me introduce you guys to the comedians who come on this show. They've been in the comedy world for years. They've been in such things as Def Comedy Jam. They've traveled the world. They've been in comedy commercials, comedy films. Hell, they've even been in comedy dining spots. First up is my man, Talent. Matter of fact, Talent was in something over the weekend. It looked like a dining spot, but he's probably still celebrating his birthday. Talent, how you doing, brother? How's everything, brother?
Everything's good. I am celebrating my birthday, brother.
Still.
All the way. Yeah, the month's not over yet. I got, what, 4 or 5 days?
Yeah, so you celebrate the whole month. Okay.
I got to do the whole month because you're not promised tomorrow, bro.
Yeah, I feel you. My man, up next is my man, comedian known as Fig. Fig, how you doing, brother? You travel the world also, man. How you doing, bro?
Man, I'm good, man. I wish I was in the library with Talent.
I know, right? And next is my man, Amir, one of the fans of the show, also one of the sports experts we like to bring on and everything else. Amir, how you doing today, brother?
I'm good, man. It's a beautiful day out here in New York City. I don't know how warm it is. I'm sitting outside. As y'all can see, the sun shining. It is a gorgeous day, so you're doing wonderfully.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I'm sitting inside, so, it's a beautiful day out. We're going to hurry and do this show so we can get out and jump into the show. Let me start out with the COVID report like I always do. Yesterday, I reported that the United States had some concerns about sending people to Japan. The major newspaper in Japan is calling for the cancellation of the Olympics. The Olympics officials are saying that Japan travel advisory is not going to change at all. So, Talent, I'm going to ask you this, bro. Should the United States officially pull out the Olympics this year because the numbers and with COVID numbers are going at an astonishing rate, bro, faster than what they have in the U.S., man. They're going fast. So should the U.S. pull out?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Hell yeah. I mean, the worst problem is, forget what everybody else is saying. Godzilla said don't go. And Japan and Godzilla. If Godzilla say don't go, don't go. Yeah. You know what I mean? No, I mean, all jokes aside, it's deadly, bro. I mean, I know we like to believe that because we got a certain amount of vaccinations and, that the world is that much safer. It may be a little safer, but it's still out there. Right. You don't go to places with high Ebola ratings and all of these other things like swine flus and, the bird flu. Like, you stay away from those places. If you see record numbers are still going on over there, you stay away from those places, man. I mean, we got to be careful. I think, United States being the country it is, the leader in the free world, I think if it does, you'll get a lot of countries that follow suit, which in turn will probably force the hand of the Olympics to say, you know what, let's push it back. Like we always talk about, but it's 4 years. This is COVID season, man. Everything can be adjusted and excused. I don't want to hear that. Right.
I agree with that. Fig, what you think?
Godzilla like Japan is crazy right now. They're not even letting nobody in Japan. I don't care whether they want to have the Olympics or not. United States, Africa, China, Russia, Germany. You can't. They don't come here. We are canceling the Olympics. It is no, you can't get here. It's a blockade. They cancel all flights. They shut down the airport. It's like, listen, man, it's dire situation in Japan, and they listen, we not going through this. We not about to do this. So don't come here. And I would imagine that if you go over there, how you gonna get back? Because other countries are famous for it's like, yo, you was in a COVID ravaged country. We not letting you in here. So for all those people that decide that they think they're going to go to Japan, you might not be able to get back home.
Okay. Amir, what you think?
I think, again, you guys are absolutely right. What's amazing is the fact that you even have to have this conversation.
Right.
Like when you really think about it, if the situation is, Talent just said is ground zero, then why are we even having this conversation? Right. Revisit this when, the situation is better. Obviously, people can come, enjoy your beautiful country, enjoy being in the Olympics. Right now is not the time for that. Right now is the time for people to be using their best judgment and using what makes sense to them to keep themselves alive. If you're
Right.
not utilizing that, I don't care who you are, then what are we doing? What are we even talking about? You know?
I have to agree with that part. I have to wholeheartedly agree with that. The thing, I'll leave this as with the last statement on this. The thing is for some reason, it seems like people in the higher ups continue, and I mean continue, to put money above of lives ahead of anything. Because it doesn't mean anything, I guess, if they lose some lives, but losing money, oh no, you can't lose money. You can't, because right now, let's be honest, you could literally move the entire Olympics, make some adjustments on people's schedule and calendar, move it to next summer. You know what I mean? And what will we lose? We won't lose anything except time. But no, money. But anyway, let me move on to the next subject, because the next subject, the story just dropped. I saw it about an hour ago. I haven't even finished reading the story, but I do know this. It looked like the son and ghostwriter of a late senator says that Trump intervened or tried to intervene to stop the probe of the New England Patriots Spygate scandal because he offered cash to the independent committee that was doing a probe on Spygate. Now, we all remember Spygate happened to drop a couple of years ago when somebody said that the Patriots were, I think it was a former Patriot head coach. He said that the Patriots were filming a couple of practices and stuff like that, which made it, as we all know, the Patriots, everybody had been filming before. 2 weeks passed by, then all of a sudden it's illegal, and now the Patriots still got caught because they continue to do it. No ifs, ands, or buts about it, no excuses. And now it looks like there was an independent committee to continue on moving that, and somebody tried to squash that by paying Trump, and then having Trump try to pay somebody else to continue to squash that, which never happened. But news have dropped on this now, Talent. What's your thoughts about this new news about Spygate happening? What you think?
Well, I mean, it makes sense. Somebody had to intervene. I remember when it first, dropped down, and how it was big news, and then it was miraculously quiet, and then it was a little news, and it was like up and down. So usually when stuff like that happens, there's something infiltrating behind the scenes. There's somebody trying to, cut a deal, if you will, or go and put it under the table and keep it quiet because it was a big deal. So, I mean, this is no surprise, that somebody, tried to do that and get in the way of things and pay people off. Happens every day. Sports is a big corporation. I keep telling people we get caught up in the field sometimes that we don't recognize that there's a bunch of cubicles and office buildings, And the funny thing, if the person who blew it open was a ex or former coach for the organization, kind of makes you wonder, like when you have these coaches in place, do you have to keep them around just because they know stuff?
You know that former coach? It was Eric Mangini. He ended up going on the coach in the Jets later on, and I think
he snitched.
Yeah, he snitched. He snitched. Before I throw it to you, Fig, I want to put it out there and say this: the Patriots don't get no slack from me. I'm a Patriots fan. They don't get no slack for getting caught cheating. They did it. They got caught doing it. Even though the timeline, people want to say, hey, they did it 2 weeks after. Listen, they got caught doing it. The thing that amazes me and continues to amaze me, and I'm throwing it to you, Fig, is that this story keeps coming up continuously years and years later. I don't understand, the facts of that. I don't know what it is, but that's just my thought. What you think, Fig?
Well, I think the reason that it keeps coming up is because for the most part, they got away with it. I mean, they were cheating. They got caught cheating because, I would imagine that part of the reason that they were able to win as many Super Bowls as they did, or as many games as they did, is because they sort of cheated a little bit, and nobody really came down on them to the point where they actually lost their championships. And in the NFL, it's very difficult to win a Super Bowl or a playoff game for that matter. So guys that figure they lost out on the opportunity are probably pretty still sour behind it. And Eric Mangini, what he actually said was, he said, look, I don't care. I know what you do because I was there. I was defensive coordinator. I don't care if you do it to the other teams. You just make sure that you don't do it to us. And Bill was like, yeah, whatever, man. We're going to do it. Eric was like, oh, no, you're not. He was like, yes, I am. He said, I'm telling.
I'm about to because he said you hear what he said?
Yeah, I heard what he said.
The Patriots lost draft picks and a lot of money. They lost 3 draft picks on it. They paid for that.
Draft picks?
draft pick. You know
draft picks. That's what we do. Look, okay, hold on. Time out. Sometimes draft picks don't even make the team. So what do you mean draft picks? The draft picks are not 100% guaranteed. You know how many guys get drafted that never play an NFL game? That's not
on your recollection of what you're saying with draft picks. Then how about this? How about the Jets and Giants skip a couple of draft picks the next couple of years? How about that? Since they don't make the team.
Listen, let's not get too crazy. Let's not get crazy with this.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. That's
crazy. The same Mangini is the same guy who did the Spygate on Robert Kraft's massage.
He probably is. Amir, what's your thought?
I think, like anything else, man, sometimes things kind of just don't go away because of, the fact that you just have people who live in the past. As you say, they were things that were done, obviously, to the New England Patriots and to the organization to, quote unquote, quell, those who felt that, there was something gone wrong or gone awry. But, we always going to have those few people who just stay stuck in the moment. You know what I mean? You've moved on a million fold since that, opportunity or since that situation happened. And obviously the New England Patriots have moved on. They've done, amazing things since then. So, that, to me, is always the case of sometimes people just holding on to history or holding on to a bad situation. In this particular case, it'll, like you said, go away for a minute and it'll, arise again. It's just a unfortunate part of this particular story. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. The Patriots won 3 Super Bowls out of 4 the last since that story broke. So yeah, I ain't even gonna go into that.
Frank. They went from Spygate, and then nobody was talking about it until they came up with the deflated footballs. And it was like, here we go again.
That's true. That's true. But you know how ridiculous that story was, right? We don't have to go to that, break that part, because that was crazy. 1/10 of an air, but I don't even go there. And I'm not even go there because I can talk about a whole hour about that. Let's bring up the next story. The next story I want to bring up is there was a complaint filed against the WNBA. And I'm going to start with you, Talent, because the Chicago Sky filed a complaint with the WNBA office after a white official called the head coach boy during the loss of the game. He said, boy, sit down and stay out of this, everything else. And I don't think the white official realized that calling a black man boy is derogatory, but he did that during the game. What's your thoughts?
Well, first of all, how old is he? You could call a black dude boy if he's boy age. No, but I mean, you know what's amazing about that, to be honest with you, is we still dealing with this. How are we still dealing with this? I mean, can anybody just really tell me, like, how is that possible? Here it is, 2021, and you say, boy, this happened to me on a plane one time, and the guy really got lucky that I was asleep. And when I woke up and the plane landed, and he's reaching overhead, move, boy. And I was like, and by the time I woke up and it hit me, like, boy, he was all the way up the jetway. I was like, son of a bitch. I was like, I was so mad that he got it away without me saying, hey, don't do that no more. I think this is ludicrous. This is beyond like comprehension right now, dude. It's 2021. And here's the thing you can't tell me. You can't tell me you don't know that. You know what I mean? Right. People can act a certain way, like, oh, I don't know what white privilege is and all that. But you can't act like you don't know that you offended them by saying boy. I think somebody should just head should roll right away. This is not one of those slap on the wrist things. You know better than that.
Yeah, he could lose his job. He should. Right. Faye, what you think?
I'm not going to go as far as to say that he didn't know. I'm not going to go that far. I'm not even going to dignify the fact that he could say that he didn't realize that was insulting to call a black man a boy. You live in the United States of America. You know. You could pretend like you don't know. You may not want to know. You may not want to acknowledge, but you know. I mean, it's impossible for you not to know. You know not to call him a ninja, and you know not to call him a boy. You know that was insulting. And you did it because it wasn't because you were happy. It was because he probably irritated you. He pissed you off, and you called him a boy. You said, boy, go and sit back down. You know, they all know. You know what I mean? It's impossible for them not to know.
Yeah.
You know, especially in this day and age, and tell you this, ignorance of the law is not an excuse, or ignorance of certain faux pas or cultural insults. In this day and age of social media and everything at your fingertips, all kind of information, that's not an excuse.
Mm-hmm. Well, Amir, what's your thoughts?
You know what? The one thing I love about this is, gotcha. Look, you're gonna stop with the foolishness because people are gonna call you out on it. Look, it is what it is. To Fig's point, in this day and age, there's no way you should be able to say that you're not aware. Let's put it that way. But the big thing about it is we are also in an age where we go, gotcha. You're gonna cut the foolishness out because we're not prepared to take that kind of foolishness anymore. And it doesn't make a difference if it's WNBA, if it's in corporate America, wherever and whatever, is going on in the world. We are calling people out when they say or do things that we know you should know better. It's just that simple. But I think that it's wonderful that the WNBA has caught it. I think it's wonderful that it's been brought to the attention of everybody, because we do have to focus now. You can't just get away with saying and doing anything you want to do just because you think it's okay. Nah, we're not having it.
Right. I agree with that one. All right. The next story up, man, is my man, Julius Randle. Actually, y'all's dude, Julius Randle. He won the Kia Most Improved Player Award of the year, to nobody's surprise. I mean, absolutely nobody. I think he won the award almost unanimously. It was well-deserved. It was great to see that dude come from almost obscurity to win this award. And maybe the thing is talent. Maybe he landed on the right team that used him properly, because he definitely wasn't used properly when he was with the Lakers. You know what I mean?
Right.
Maybe that's what it was. However you look at it, it's an award that's well deserved. What's your thoughts on Julius Randle winning the award, talent?
Well, I think that it's really, we're talking about stars finally aligning for a player. Like every now and then, stars align for a player. And I think what happened with Julius Randle, he always was a talented, solid player, but the stars aligned, meaning he shifted to a team that was wide open for anybody to become the savior. You know what I mean? And that rarely happens, especially in New York. It's the biggest market. So usually New York pays for its saviors. It goes and gets a Marbury, gets a Carmelo, gets a, it'll pay that top dollar to hopefully bring in a savior. Hell, we brought in Stevie Franchise.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, we'll pay whatever it is. Tracy McGrady, Penny Hardaway, they all been to New York. So he caught New York when they said, you know what, we're just going to sit back and slowly rebuild and use our draft picks and see where it takes us. And he was a solid player who was, with his youth, he had nowhere to go but up. So that was dope for him. When the perfect storm comes, you have to take advantage of it, and Julius Randle is a perfect example of taking advantage of the perfect storm.
But I want to just add this. I think to what your point is that he wasn't utilized, I think, to his strengths as well as he could for the Lakers. And then the Knicks getting a great coach who saw what he could do, and the Knicks getting a player like him, and all the stars aligned, like what you're saying, talent. It just really worked out for Julius Randle. Fig, what you think?
I think it's to tell you the truth, I think it's highly insulting. And I'm gonna tell you why. There were 100 people that voted, and Julius Randle only got 98 votes. I want to know who the other two guys are. That's what I want to know. Who the hell are these other two guys that didn't vote for Julius Randle? I mean, this guy went from the Lakers to the Pelicans, and then he ended up with the Knicks, and finally he came into his own. What I actually believe, though, this is a testament to this guy's work ethic and his dedication to his craft, to getting better in almost every category that you can name: rebounds, assists, scoring. He became the team leader at 26 years old. And what's really great about it is that what I believe is that when these young players come into the NBA or into any sport, it takes them a couple years to get their legs. I've always been saying this. I think it takes possibly, an average of 3 to 4 years before you really get solidified. And 26 years old is what you call your sports prime. Somewhere between 26, 27 years old is when you're in the prime of your life as far as athletics. And, kudos to Julius Randle. He put in the work and he got rewarded for it.
Amir, what's your thoughts?
I echo, the same thing my colleagues echoed with everything about Julius Randle. What I really enjoyed, though, because I saw the little bit of the presentation and it happened to come from his son.
Right.
Yeah. And I thought that was apropos and very well deserved. And I thought that was a magic moment, too, because, far too often, we're put in certain lights. And I thought that it was really cool to have a son who may eventually somewhere down the line either, end up playing basketball or another sport or, something else totally different. But I thought that it was really, really cool that his son, presented him with the award and then to have his team members, really enjoy the moment with him as well. I thought that was dope. So super happy for the brother. Kudos and, much continued success. We need it. And it's good to have him here. So let's, hope that he continues to, grow from this.
All right, let me talk about the next hot topic. Is a friend of mine texted me last night and told me the hot topic is coming out of Oakland and the Oakland Bay area and everything else, and I didn't even pay attention to it. But I'm gonna throw it out there because I did some research on it this morning. Come to find out that the people in the Bay Area are extremely concerned that Steph Curry might not re-sign with the Golden State Warriors because they've been having talks to extend his contract yet, and he hasn't signed it yet. You know what I mean? Maybe he hasn't signed it yet because he was still playing in the season. Maybe he hasn't signed it because he wanted to. I mean, there's a lot of reasons. But there are concerns because rumors are having it in Oakland, the Bay Area, is that Steph is looking at all options before he extends. And people are concerned that he'll land on the Lakers because the Lakers are right there ready to knock on the door. So I'm going to ask you, Talent, do you think it's a no-brainer that Steph is going to re-sign with the Golden State Warriors, or do you think he's going to look at all his options before he signs his second extension? Because last one he signed, he got $201 million. He signed 5 years extension in 2017. Now he can sign another extension now because he's eligible. But he also can become a free agent. What's your thoughts?
Well, I think he's not going to – I think he's going to make a movie like they all do. Nowadays, we live in a time where these players become free agents, and even if they don't really have intentions of leaving, they like the attention. They like to be the center of all the sports talk. So I don't doubt him. Hey, let me test the free agent. I don't know where I'm gonna go. Create the drama. LeBron started that mess, and then stay there where he at. I don't see him leaving, but I do see him creating a little frenzy, just getting everything a little uproar going. So I don't think he's leaving anywhere. I think he'll stay. Okay,
so for the record, you say you think he's gonna stay. So if Clay continues to be hurt and they trade Draymond Green and it doesn't look like they're gonna go, you're gonna say for the record you think he's gonna stay?
Yeah, because you got to understand something. We live in a time.
Whoops. Hold on. I'm sorry. Say that one more time. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The times are different. We come from a time of integrity where these guys come from a time of money. You know what I mean? So I think even if Clay continues to be hurt and not be able to contribute for a certain amount of time, that money's going to look great. And the camaraderie and all the hoopla because he's the king of Oakland and it's the Golden State Warriors and everything. And more importantly, we're forgetting the most important thing. The man has his championships. Okay.
Well, for the record, I'm gonna say I think that's exactly the reason why I think he might not resign. Fig, I'm gonna throw it to you. You tell me what you think, because I think he's gonna look at all his options, and if Golden State's not trending in the right direction, and the option for him to play with AD is still gonna be there, because AD signed with a long contract. I think he might, and then he got all his businesses in LA. He's got several movie production businesses in LA. His wife wants to be on TV. He wants, his wife wants to be in LA. I think it's something he's going to really seriously consider. But that's just my thought. Fig, you talk to me, tell me what you think.
Steph Curry is honestly one of my favorite players in the NBA. If he's not the top, he's in the top 5 of my favorite NBA players right now. I think he's loyal to Golden State for the most part. But if all of the cards line up, I think it's possible that he leaves. If Clay can't come back, like the scenario that you set up, if Clay is injured beyond coming back and contributing, and then they trade Draymond Green, which is probably his two closest friends left in the franchise, I think he may leave. Will he go to Los Angeles Lakers and team up with LeBron? I doubt that very seriously. Tell you what makes me salivate, the possibility, and always as a Knicks fan, I salivate with the possibility that we get a superstar.
So you're gonna say it again too.
In their prime of Steph Curry's caliber. If he were to go to New York, I'll just say this, just my own bias, and I admit that. If he goes to New York and win a championship after what he did in Golden State, because Golden State hadn't won in 40 years, the same thing with the Knicks. If he's able to go to the Knicks and they win a championship, Steph Curry will end up being an NBA god.
All right, well, let me clarify some things before I throw it to me. Let me clarify that. I'm saying that Steph is going to come in and possibly at least take it over after LeBron leaves. I don't think LeBron's going to still be there. I think by the time he moves in, this is a year or two out. I think.
Okay.
And also let me say this too. I think before I throw it to Amir, it's a very good possibility. Let's just say the Lakers win the championship, which I don't think they will. But if they do win the championship, Amir, I think they're going to go heavy after Steph because I think they think that LeBron is going to retire. That's what I think they think. But that's just my, I have my Pelican briefs all over the place.
Hold on. Before you go to Amir, let me just say, ain't nobody coming to New York by using words like salivate. Go ahead.
Amir, what's your thoughts on all of this, man? Where everything's panning out? What you think?
You know what? Ever since you brought up the fact that in yesterday's show, you brought up the fact that Klay Thompson may or may not, be back into the fold until halfway, into next season. I thought about it and I was like, there is the possibility that, Steph may leave. And the only reason why is because his usage at this particular stage of his career is gone up tremendously.
Right.
And, as y'all know, he does a lot of driving to the basket and falling to the ground and, things like that. And as you get older, obviously it's not as easy to come back from those kinds of nicks and knacks and, things like that. And then with the Klay Thompson, scenario, and, I brought this up yesterday, obviously we'd love to see this gentleman come back and be the Klay Thompson of old and the one that we know and love and respect. But if he cannot, then again, it still puts a lot of pressure on Steph to be, do even more and to, carry that franchise and to carry that situation. And at this stage of his life, he may be on cruise control. Look, I got 3 championships and I got two finals MVPs. I don't really have anything else left to prove. All I'm doing now is going around and having fun, which he should. He solidified himself as a bona fide great in NBA folklore, especially for the city of Golden State. So now if he goes and does some of what we all hate LeBron for, which is moving on to other franchises and bringing championships, what can you really say? That's a challenge for him that in his heart and his mind may be something that he wants to take on. So we got to wait and see.
Well, that's why I was even brought up the question, because honestly, Golden State's not trending in the right direction. They're trending in the wrong direction. They're going the opposite way. The injuries are catching up to them. The age is catching up to them. They need to do something to be able to keep the fans coming in, obviously, to the building. They need to be able to keep something so they can stay relative to NBA championships. If Klay is already coming in halfway through next season, they already are looking at not even being in the top 5 of the Western teams if Klay don't come back. You know what I mean? Let's be honest. They're not going to be a top 5 because Phoenix is getting better. Dallas is getting better. The Lakers are, they're going to still be up if LeBron plays. Utah is still getting. So now Golden State's in the top 7, 8.
Yeah, but they can get better. Them getting better is not. That's just one option. Klay Thompson. Klay is not all of the options of getting better. Look at all the teams that don't.
No, I didn't say it. I didn't say it.
No, you said they're trending in the wrong way. But
right.
What I'm saying is that's just moves to be made. So saying he's leaving because they're trending the wrong way. How about he just pull an Aaron Rodgers and just say, okay, let me start helping you bring some people here. Let me go parlay. Let me go to an NBA player's wedding.
Yeah, that's possible.
Get 2 of those dudes. Let me get Kwame Brown back in again.
Okay, but there's one thing there's one thing you're forgetting about. One thing right there. Why you're throwing out jokes? One thing you're forgetting is their contract situation. They're maxed out to the tilt with Klay. They play Klay as much as they can play him. They're getting ready to sign Steph, which is going to be probably to the max degree. So each team can only handle 2, maybe 3 max contracts. So
Right.
every other player that they want to bring in is not going to come in for top dollar. So if you're a player who's not going to come for top dollar, which team you going to come in? You going to come play for the Lakers? It's going the right way, or you going to play for Golden State, which seems to be trending the wrong way? I mean,
but let's look at the
all
Lakers.
relative,
Let's say you said look at the Lakers. So let's look at the Lakers. Let's take a page out of their book right now. Everybody's not top dollar over there. They got a lot of people on sale right now.
yeah,
Go grab you a couple of people on sale. Put together a team because they're not horrible. They just need some more people on sale.
Yeah, but LA has something that Golden State don't have. That's Hollywood. Everybody and their mother wants to go to that market to play in Hollywood because of what Hollywood brings in. You know, the extra thing with it. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't understand why the players always want to do it. I lived there. I don't get it, but, you know, maybe because I didn't live on that level of life. But, you know, anyway, let's go into the NBA games last night, bro, because we got to talk about some of the NBA games. First thing I want to talk about, since we're talking about the Lakers, is the Lakers came back to tie the series against the Suns. And I'm going to start with you, Talent. AD, he played like a monster last night. But I saw a game and I watched what the commentators said, and I think we saw 2 separate type of different things. You know what I mean? I saw the Lakers do everything in their mother that they could to stay in the game and win that game. And Chris Paul got injured, you know, last game and everything else. And the Phoenix didn't play their best game. And the Lakers played their best game and barely won. I think it's going to be a little bit more difficult for the Lakers to pull it out the way they're making it seem. But I could be wrong. You know what I mean? What's your thoughts after you saw the game in the series is tied up? What you think?
I mean, it's clear. I mean, anybody who watched the game knows only one reason they won. They kicked the man in the dick. Anytime you do that, you win. I've seen some of the biggest dudes, some of the biggest wife beaters, abusers. You hitting that private part, that girl get away.
Yeah, it's over.
She gets away. It's not a man strong enough to keep moving after that. And now this is one of their strong dudes.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? This is a strong dude playing for him. But all jokes aside, no, the Lakers played hard enough to deserve that win. You know, I don't really compliment LeBron on a lot of made up statistics and everything. But one thing I would say about him in last night's game, he had some great decision making moments.
Right.
You know, sometimes LeBron comes off real, for lack of a better word, soft to me, like he's deferring a lot. You know, he don't want the pressure. He wanted the pressure last night, and he made some great decision making, especially after they went up. Phoenix started to make that run, and they went hard. You know, because basketball is a game of runs, and Phoenix had that last run where they was down like 11-12, brought it all the way, tied it up, went up by 2, and Bron, basketball IQ kicked in, and he was making some hellified decisions and facilitating that ball around and everything to the right people at the right time, and they deserve that win. They earned that.
Bro, they are so lucky Chris Paul didn't play last night because that game would have been a wrap. Fig, what you think?
I think the Lakers won in the first quarter. Because they came out super aggressive and they punched Phoenix in the mouth. The refs was making calls by the first 5 minutes in the first quarter. I think 2 or 3 of the Phoenix Suns was in foul trouble. It was absolutely insane to me. And then I don't know why a referee and Anthony Davis are not in the hospital. That's just me. Because if somebody kicks me in the balls and he gets the foul call, I'm going to the locker room. I gotta go to the locker room, get a knife, and come back and stab the referee and Anthony Davis for kicking me in the ball. You mean to tell me this dude kicked me in the balls and it's the foul is on me? Wait. I was like, hold up, man. I was trying to figure this math out. I broke out my calculator. I was like, I don't understand. 1 + 1 is 2, and this week is next week. I'm like, how did that happen? How did Anthony Davis kick Crowder in the balls and the foul was on Crowder? I was like, seriously? If that would have been somebody else, they would have got ejected out of the game. But because it was Anthony Davis and it was a LeBron James Lakers team, Anthony Davis got to go to the foul line. And I'm just like, that's absolutely ridiculous. So they got punched in the mouth in the beginning, and they never really recovered full momentum of the game. But I think that the Clippers are still, the Clippers. I think the Phoenix Suns are still in contention, and I'm hoping that Chris Paul is able to come back to at least 85% of himself.
Okay. Let me just read this right now. Since you said stab a player, I have to read this disclaimer that the comments of the player of the does not reflect this name of this show that you want to stab people.
Yo, the dramatic effect is crazy. I mean,
that was my tribute to Paul Mooney. You know what I mean? Because he said that that's what he would do if somebody asked him to do a commercial about popcorn chicken and dance for it back in the day.
All right, well, hold on. Since you said Paul Mooney, let me read this again. Amir, what you think, bro?
You know what? I thought that the game was, like I said, it was definitely a game of runs. I think that Chris Paul, obviously being injured has tremendously hurt, the Phoenix Suns. But, you also have to take into consideration, you're talking about a team who's a championship team. Championship teams, good, bad, and different, find ways or eventually put it together in ways that seemingly we think, is either easy or doesn't, appear to be that great a situation. But when you're talking about guys who have been there, they know what it's like to be down, they know what it's like to be in the trenches, and that team obviously does, and especially their two leaders. If you even watch the interview after the game, Anthony Davis said out of his own mouth, he said last year and prior to this, LeBron would have to come and say certain things to me. He didn't have to say anything to me. When you have you take that kind of pride, you take that kind of accountability, that puts you in a different stratosphere, not only as a player, but it also puts you in a different stratosphere in terms of how you approach the game. And those guys know and understand how to approach the game. And yesterday, all we saw was just that. Them approaching the game like, this is almost a game 7. We need this win. We can't afford to get out of here without it. And they played as such. And that's what we saw.
Right. All right. Speaking of winning and losing, man, the other team across town, right? The Clippers ended up losing to Dallas. And the Clippers are now in an 0-2 hole. And I think there is trouble in LA land right now. If you're a Clippers fan, if you're a Clippers management, everything else, you have got to be upset because a couple of reasons. Number one, you're down 0-2. Number two, if they lose, which is a very good possibility, I think they'll all be concerned that Kawhi won't stay this season. And I think he won't resign with the team. I think he'll be out. And I'll be quiet as kept. I could see him landing on Milwaukee or Miami or another team that has the room to need a player like that with him and everything else. So I think they're having problems. Talent, what you think?
I think that's a great assessment. The fear of losing Kawhi. Actually, that's a good name for a documentary. But I think that's a good assessment of where the mental is right now. But here's my thing. I'm an avid School of Popovich fan. And the one thing I know is that he's not just giving up. This is not over yet. We have not seen the highest capabilities of a Kawhi Leonard and company. I still look at this series as a 6-7 game series, believe it or not, even down to I see them figuring this out because you're talking about the claw and you're talking about they're one defensive stop away from turning this around. Somebody has to defend the leading scorer of the other team. Mm-hmm. And it fits the criteria for a Kawhi Leonard, a.k.a. the claw. So I see them band-aiding this and slowly crawling back in it. I don't think it's over.
All right. Fig, what you think?
I don't think it's over either, but last year they blamed Doc Rivers and Montrezl Harrell because he created dissension in the locker room. They said that Paul George was having some, mental health issues and he didn't want to be in the bubble. And so they got rid of Doc. They got rid of, the quote unquote cancer in the locker room. And then this year they're down 0-2 to Dallas, and I'm like, who's the scapegoat now? Because now Ty Lue is the coach, and they got Rondo, and who's the scapegoat for this team now? I think it really boils down to your ticker. You know, what's in here, the heart. You know what I mean? And what is wrong when you got a guy that's absolutely on fire? What's wrong with double teaming him and getting the ball out of his hand and making somebody else beat you other than the hottest dude on the team, the one bona fide star that if you cut off the head of the snake, you could probably win? Like the same thing that the Lakers did to Devin Booker yesterday. They was double or triple teaming him and getting the ball out of his hand and making sure that he couldn't score. Why can't the Clippers do that to Luka Doncic? Why do they have Patrick Beverly, the smallest dude on the team, trying to guard Luka Doncic? I'm just like, none of the stuff that they're doing coaching-wise makes sense to me, and I just don't understand it. But Amir, I think it still could be a series.
Okay, Amir, your thoughts?
You know what's so funny is, you know, to everybody's point, I think the real trouble, like you said, stems to going back to last year. I personally just think, and this is no disrespect to Paul George, I think Paul George is not the caliber of player he sees himself to be in his own mind. That's not to say he's not a great player. That's not to say he's not a superstar and all that stuff. But obviously, when we talking about the game being on the line and you having to show up, he seems to be the missing piece. To Big's point about double teaming Doncic, let's keep it 1,000. We said this on various other shows. When it comes to Joker, when it comes to Doncic and some of these guys, these dudes are fundamentally sound. You know who they remind you of? Tim Duncan, when Tim Duncan was that dude. Remember when Tim Duncan was that guy and you couldn't do anything with him because he was fundamentally sound? That's the same that these gentlemen are. The problem is the Clippers as a whole have lived on a hedged bet, meaning we took them at face value because of what they look like on paper and what we thought they could be and all this stuff. And they just haven't lived up to that. Now, as a fan, obviously we'd love to see them do that. But what we're actually seeing is who and what they actually are, to Fig's point about heart. Are you willing to put your boots on like you're supposed to and show up? And it appears to me that to this point, that's what's happening. You can't ask Kawhi Leonard to do any more than he did last night. You can't ask him to do any more than that. He actually came and played his behind off. Where was everybody else? What was the rest of the team collectively doing?
Amir, listen, I hear what you're saying, and I looked at it. It seems like Kawhi and Paul George were the only one that did their thing as far as scoring. Kawhi dropped 28, 12, and Paul George dropped 28, 12, and 6. Kawhi dropped 41, 6, and 4. Everybody else is pretty much in the single digits, except for Reggie Jackson, who hit 15. At the end of the day, these guys came to your house and scored 127 points. This is defense, fellas. I mean, like, if you want to win a championship, you got to stop somebody. You just can't outscore everybody. And these guys are supposed to be defensive stoppers. Kawhi and Paul George are supposed to be like two of the best defensive players in the league.
All right, let's get on because we got another game we got to cover too. Because the Celtics last night, they got in trouble last night too. They got in trouble really quickly, man. Brooklyn, I watched all the NBA games so far after 2 games, and the 2 best teams in the league right now playing in the playoffs talent is Milwaukee right now and Brooklyn Nets. And honestly, Milwaukee looked the best. They looked even better than Brooklyn because Milwaukee was even playing defense while they scored 34 points and everything else. You know, you could make a good argument that Brooklyn looked good too, but right now, the Celtics are in serious trouble. They lost Jason Tatum last night, probably for the next game too and everything else. Brooklyn looks scary, bro. So what's your thoughts about seeing the Celtics and Brooklyn game? Like, is it over? I think it's over.
I don't think that these guys look super strong, the 2 teams you named. I think the competition they're playing looks inferior. It's a difference. You know, look at your team. Look at Boston. Boston is without. So when they take the floor, you're playing a shell of a great team right now. You're overmatched. So I don't think it's that they look that good. It's just clearly an overmatching. The same thing with the Heat. This is clearly not the same Heat we've seen make a push in the bubble last year. You know, this Heat team seems to be clicking one or two cylinders at a time. You know, it reminds me of a car. Like everybody, you know, that's 40 years or older had a hoopty at some point. And you hear that joint skip and putt and all that, and you take it in, and you know, your spark plugs or, you know, your engines is misfiring, the cylinders and stuff like that. That is what Miami look like right now. They just happen to both be playing the top two teams.
Right.
So, of course, the teams are going to be looking like great. It's like that Seinfeld episode where Kramer was taking karate with kids. Remember, he came home with the black belt. They was like, damn, you dumb nice, dumb fast. And when they went to the damn karate school, it was all like third grade.
That's true. That's true. That's true. That's true. Fig, what's your thoughts?
Talent. I want my words back because you took the words right out of my mouth, man. I really think it's the level of competition that these guys are playing against, man, that's making them look this great. But you know, it's like it's like a blessing and a curse at the same time. It's a blessing because, especially for the Nets, because you get an opportunity to play a decent team, which is severely undermanned, and you get a chance to get your NBA playoff legs, if you will, because, you know, none of those guys have played together for any length of time. So you get to, it's almost like, I mean, I hate to say it, it's almost like a scrimmage to sort of get your chemistry together. And, you know, it's a blessing that you get an opportunity to do that. So I think Brooklyn will progressively get better. I don't think we've seen the best of Brooklyn just yet because those guys have yet to gel and get their chemistry together. And Miami against Milwaukee, man. Milwaukee is significantly better this year than they were last year, man. I just think that outside shooting that they had, Fournette and I forget the other point guard off the top of my head. I forget his name, but they just look a lot better this year than they were last year. It's not all on Giannis's shoulders, so they just look better. And Miami just ran into a buzzsaw the last game, but it's only 2 games in, and it's a 7-game series for a reason. So we'll see what happens.
Amir, what you think?
Hold on. I think, you know, to everybody's point, I think you're absolutely right. They are, you know, both teams seem to be playing inferior teams because of, you know, the logistics of what those teams are like at this moment. But we also got to give some credit to both of those teams. The Nets, the only thing that I'm worried about where the Nets are concerned, I still don't think that they're a great defensive team. So I think that they could be beat if you can find ways to score on them because they're not good defensively.
Right.
As far as Milwaukee is concerned, I think what we saw with Milwaukee or what we're seeing with Milwaukee is, again, now Giannis finally has some other pieces who are showing up every night. So the guard play is, you know, giving them some real, obviously the gentleman who shot so well in the last game, we may or may not see that happen again. But the point is, these guys' confidence is growing. And as long as your confidence is growing, and especially at this time of the year when it's most necessary, then, you know, you stand a chance of always coming out on the winning end of things. The teams that obviously don't have that, and that's what's going on with Boston, and that's what's going on with the Heat. Like I said, if you looked at that last Heat game, those guys look demoralized. I tell you, I've never seen the spiritual leader for the Heat ever look demoralized, ever. He looks like he'll find you in the mall and be like, yo, I'll play you in the mall in my shoes. Yeah. But he doesn't look like himself. You know what I mean? And I think that that's all a part of what we're, experiencing when we're watching these two series. So again, can it be turned around? Possibly. But it doesn't look really good for either of those two teams at this particular moment.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's why I said after 2 games, this is where we're standing. But after 2 games, we'll get a better assessment. Tonight, some game 2s, the Knicks are playing Atlanta, Memphis is playing Utah, Washington is playing Philly. I know since I'm talking to all Knicks fans right now, I know the Knicks fans are expecting to tie the series. But let me start with you real fast, Talent. I'm going to ask you, do you think Memphis and Utah is going to even that series out, or Washington and Philly? What do you think is going to happen in Washington-Philly series?
Yeah, I think Philly series is just going to keep going again. Other than personal statistics, they're kind of wasting their time out there. You know, Philly's going to wrap that thing. But I think that I think we get an even Utah series. I think that gets evened out. I think New York gets evened out because I think your boy comes to play, you know. And once Julius Randle has a Julius Randle type of game this year, you see the supporting cast do their thing. I don't even think it's going to be that close like it was the first game. All
right, Fig, you got 60 seconds. You think Utah's going to miss 33 3-pointers again like they did last game, or you think Utah's going to tie this series up? What do you think's going to happen?
I think Utah ties it up. You know, they're formidable over there, and I believe they get their point guard back. So I think Utah ties it up.
All right, and Amir, I'm gonna leave the last question with you, man. You think Washington and Philly going to even out the series, or you think Philly's going to just keep going on cruise control? What do you think we're looking at?
Well, you know what? I mean, obviously, I'd love to see them even out that series. The issue to me with that series is, again, you're talking about the role players. Right. We know what Bill's going to do. We know what Westbrook is going to do. Are any of those other players prepared to show up and show out? And for the series and all the other games that we've been watching, that's what we've been seeing. We've been seeing other players show up and show out. And once you get that, then it makes it harder for these teams to really focus, because they like, we wasn't expecting that from him, man. Why is he showing up tonight? We didn't even, game plan for him. And that's what, has to happen for Washington to tie that up. I don't know if that can happen, because I don't know if they have any player who has that kind of heart. But like I said, personally, I'd love to see that happen.
Talent, tell everybody out there, the show's over. Tell everybody out there how they can follow you, bro. And you tell them get your merchandise too. You see how this goes?
I was about to mention, thank you for repping. You see, my man Frank has on the It's Just Comedy Run DMC style hat. We got those. We got these right here, the brown ones with the Def Jam hybrid logo as well. Check the merch out. Go on my pages. Inbox me to get you some hoodies, t-shirts. Oh, shit, I got socks. We got coffee mugs, beer mugs, and everything, water bottles, and all that good stuff. I'm on Instagram at Talent the Comedian, and on Facebook at King Talent Harris, and every day at 1 o'clock on the box seats.
Hey, everybody.
Yeah, I gotta get me some of that merch, man. Just no socks in the summertime. That's what it is. No socks in the summertime. Yes, Monday through Friday, right here on the box seats, 1 to 2 p.m., baby. The best damn sports show on TV, social media, everywhere. Comedian Fig. Follow me.
Amir, thank you for sitting in for Rodney Perry again, bro. How can everybody follow you?
Thank you for having me, guys. I'm A-Rock Sealy, as y'all can see down there at the bottom on IG, and I'm Amir Sealy on Facebook. I don't even know my Twitter handle, so that's why I never tell y'all that. But if you look, it's probably the same as my
same as my name at RodneyPerry.com.
Hey, tell everybody out there who's coming up tomorrow, Talent. You got to do that.
Hey, tomorrow's show, Thursday, super hype, ladies and gentlemen. The son is in the playoffs right now. The father will be on the box seats to talk about the playoffs tomorrow, 1 o'clock. The great Rick Brunson, ex-NBA player. Now he's a dad of an NBA player. He's doing it big. Ex-New York Knick, by the way. Rick Brunson. Here tomorrow.
Y'all gonna absolutely love that show. Hey, the show's called Box Seats. The channel's called Humor Mill. Y'all know what to do by now. Hey, you know what? We'll see y'all tomorrow. Can't wait to have this show on. Thanks to Talent. Thanks to Fig. Thanks to Amir for sitting in for Rodney Perry. We'll see y'all tomorrow, 1 o'clock. Take care.
1 o'clock. Salute. Peace.